Well, guys, it's back to the bread and butter of the league today as Rangers take on Motherwell at Ibrox. Welcome along to Glasgow Rangers Nation, your everyday Glasgow Rangers news channel. If you want to make sure you never miss out on all the fantastic content, the only way to make sure that happens is to subscribe for free, for nothing, for nada, for gratis. All you got to do, hit the sub, ring the notification bell. If you ring the notification bell, you'll always get a reminder when we go live, when we publish new content, etc., etc. So you will never, ever miss out. And we don't charge you. There's so many other podcasts out there now who charge for daily news updates, who charge for things. We do not charge you for it. So please hit that sub. Well, today, obviously, we go up against Motherwell at Ibrox, a Motherwell team who were in quite good form. And if you look at the obviously results from yesterday, Saturday, and obviously the league table, you'll see what I mean. Now, let's just quickly skim over those results from Saturday. Celtic, despite having Joe Hart sent off, still managed to beat Livingston 3-0. Arguably got away with another one. Is it Johnston or Johnson, whatever he's called? The one looks like Gollum. He should have been sent off for a studs-up tackle, but he got away with it because, of course, he's wearing green and white. Hibernian won 2-0 against St Johnstone. St Mirren continued their excellent run of form, winning 1-0 against Hearts, moving up to second, only 2 points behind the shower from across the city. And Kilmarnock and Dundee drew 2-2. Looking at that leaves Rangers in fourth place. Although with victory over Motherwell tomorrow, we can move up to third and be 2 points behind St Mirren, who are in a cracking run of form at this moment in time and are yet to lose this season. Rangers currently sit on 9 points in fourth place. And Aberdeen sit second off bottom. They also play today after appearing in the Conference League this season. So what does today hold? What do we need to do? And look, it's not going to be an easy game, is it? Look, I know it should be. I know it should be. Look, it's Motherwell. It's the SPFL. It's a game that we should be winning. Of course, we should be winning it. You know, it's at Ibrox. You know, we've got a number of home games coming up. We need to put on a good display. We go back a little bit to Thursday night. You know, Thursday night we put in a very fine display, especially second half. There was a bit of a dodgy spell in the first half where they had control of the game, where we sat far too deep, but we gave them far too much time and respect and allowed them to have far too much ball. And it seemed so the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, and then the second half, we really then held a higher line, pressed them higher, and for the first time this season, I think played with a bit of speed, a little bit of, fluency to our attack. There was a little bit of more promise there. I think no strangeness that we seem to have a little bit of width as well on Thursday with Seema and Matondo. For me, if Rangers are going to be successful this season, if Rangers are going to have a good season, then they need to play with width. When you're trying to break down an opposition team, when you're trying to break down the likes of, Motherwell, of Dundee's, of the Kilmarnocks of this world, who are going to, sit with 10 men behind the ball, you've got to have width. You've got to have a plan A and a plan B. You've got to have the ability to try and unlock them inside with kind of a little passes around the box. And, that's down to the likes of Sam Lammers, of Todd Cadwell when he's fit, Tom Lawrence when he's fit, Danilo when he's fit, etc., etc. But you've also got to have, for me as well, that ability to get around the outside, to get the ball into the box. And that can't all fall just on the fullbacks. You need to be able to overload the opposition fullbacks, with the wingers going at them and then the fullbacks going on the overlap, or vice versa. So for me, using Matondo and Seema, who are theoretically, I suppose, Scott Wright you could include, but, Scott's, I think, proved these perhaps not up to the task. We do need to have that width in the team. And I think on Thursday night, we showed a little bit of that, some good character, some good battle, and a very good performance second half. And the green shoots of recovery. Look, is the pressure wholly off Michael Beale? No, it isn't. Of course it's not, And I don't think it will be until he wins an old firm game that actually matters. That's the situation. Michael Beale could win every single game between now and that game against, and that game, he could win He can win every single game between now and the Old Firm game. But if he loses that Old Firm game at Parkhead, the pressure is right back on him. I mean, that's just the way it is. When you're Glasgow Rangers manager, you have to beat that lot from across the city. It is a fact. And the situation is that they are currently, 7 points technically now ahead of us. Obviously, we do have the game in hand on them, but you've got to in a SPFL that is increasingly weak. Even though St Mirren are making a decent fight of it this season, you've got to win the Old Firm games. They are the games that ultimately will decide which side of Glasgow the league resides on, and we certainly don't want it on the green and white side. It needs to come back to the rightful side, to the blue side of the city. And let's face it, Glasgow is actually blue. Now, Motherwell come off the back of some fine performances. I don't think they've actually. I think there's some stat like they haven't lost away from home in 9 months, although that does include the summer months. So, you can kind of take that with a pinch of salt, the whole 9 months, because there's times obviously in June, July when we don't play. So, look, you can't really include that. But they've done very well. They finished off last season with a draw at Parkhead, and they've started this season very well indeed. You look at their position in the league table. You look at their record. They've played 5, they've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1. So their overall record isn't that bad, and they're playing some. They're very solid. They're not a great football team. They're not playing swashbuckling, attacking football. But they are a very solid football team, and that's kind of, I think, what has got them to the position they're in this season. If you look at their results from this year, going back to the first match day of the SPFL. You take that, there was a 1-1 draw against Dundee. They followed that up with a 2-1 win over Hibs. They lost to St Mirren in the Scottish League Cup. They then beat Kilmarnock 2-1 at home at Fir Park on match day 3. Match day 4, they went to Tynecastle and won, which is a pretty impressive result to go there and win 1-0. They lost their last league game. They lost 1-0 to an in-form Motherwell team. So look, they're not a bad team. They've got some decent results. They're going to come and try and make it as difficult as possible. They're not going to come and lay down and die. They're going to come and pack behind the ball, and they're going to make it a difficult proposition for Rangers to overcome. Liam Kelly is a decent goalkeeper. They've got some reasonably talented players who work hard. But at the end of the day, it is going to be a game that Rangers are going to need to start to show their class. They're going to need to kick on from where they were last, kick on from where they started on Thursday. Rangers need to show the same determination, the same skill level, the same battle that they showed against Real Betis. And you've got to think about it in terms of the fact that Real Betis are a team that finished 6th in La Liga last season. They play in one of the top leagues. Yes, at the end of the day, they are not. They're not one of the top Spanish sides, but they're still a good side, and we played well against them. We nullified their threat. They were probably one of the favourites to progress from our group, and we've beaten them, and that's a positive we've got to take forward. Now, one of the players who has come in for some stick, and player I mentioned on yesterday's video, I think has to start today and has to have a very good game. Ben Davies has taken an awful lot of criticism from last season, and rightly so in many places, rightly so with how he's played at times. But Ben has come back into the team, and he's done very well the last couple of games. That's why look, let's get this thing straight. John Souttar is a good defender. Of course he is. He's a very good defender, but he's not a left-sided centre-back. He isn't comfortable playing there. He's not left-footed. You really want to balance there, and Ben Davies looks better at left-sided centre-back. We don't want to go back to using square pegs in round holes, not when you've got a round peg to put in a round hole. You need to stick to that. Now, Michael Beale obviously has some selection dilemmas. He has, an injury problem within the squad. You look at the fact that Cantwell, Raskin, who are, arguably, and Danilo, who are arguably 3 of our best players, are out and will miss tomorrow's game, which is a big loss. Of course it is. It's not a good thing, but he's got some selection dilemmas. We've got to look at the situation with Tom Lawrence. Is it, right to take him out of the firing line, given the fact that he went off injured on Thursday night? Also, what does he do up front? Does he, rest Kemar Roof? We've played an awful lot of games recently, and there's always that worry around Kemar that he's going to break down and get injured again. But who do you put back in? Because Danilo isn't fit. Cyril Dessers has been frankly shocking when it comes to actually doing what a striker's supposed to do, which is put the ball in the back of the net. Now, given the thing tomorrow, I think the chances could well be at a premium, and problems, chances that fall to a striker need to be taken. Kamar Roof is your best bet because, Cyril Dessers has certainly done nothing in front of goal in the league to show that he is a guy who can be relied on to finish chances. You look at the 3 misses against Ross County, the miss against PSV. His actual record in front of goal is pretty poor, as it was last season. I think it was 6 goals in total for Cremonese in last season, which is not great at all. Now, I've had a think. I've redrafted and drafted. Now, obviously, I came with a team yesterday. I've sat down again today, rethought about it, looked at looked at Motherwell, looked at how we played Thursday, thought about Michael Beale in reality. And this is the team that I would consider probably would be the best, strongest team we could choose tomorrow. We seem to have gone back to a 4-2-3-1, got back to basics, which I think, is what we need to do. So obviously Jack Butland in goal picks himself. Jack's been phenomenal this season. He has been our best summer signing. He's been utter quality. Back 4, I think obviously Tav will start. Goldson and Davis for me have to start at central defence. They've kept clean sheets in the last 2 games. Ultimately, if you keep a clean sheet, you stand more chance of winning the game, and that's what we've got to do tomorrow. Keep a clean sheet, and Goldson and Davis have done that in the last 2 games. I would start Yilmaz at left back. I think he does need to run the team. We need to see, if he can sustain in the league, if he can actually play a series of games, and exactly, how good this lad is. Cifuentes and Lundstrom I would then put in front of the back 4. Cifuentes, who was exceptionally poor in the first half against Betis, but sort of grew into it a little bit more in the second half. But Cifuentes, I think, needs game time. We need to see again if this player is really what we think he is. And the only way you're going to actually see if he is what we think he is, or what Michael Beale thought he was, is by actually starting him and playing him in games. Lundstrom will play, I think, in front of the back 4. Lundstrom had a very good game on Thursday night, pretty much ran at the midfield. Although, like I said in the video yesterday, he's a man who divides opinion. And look, I've called him out over the past, and he's been criticised, even over his performance on Thursday. Some people calling it a fantastic performance, some calling it a shocking performance. That's the extent to which John Lundstrom divides opinion. I would play with 2 wingers. I'd keep Matondo and Seema as those 2 wide men. I think their pace, Matondo's pace, is enough to scare the living daylights out of anybody. And Seema has a bit of has pace, has skill. And I think having those 2 out wide gives us that other option rather than just going through the middle. Sam Lammers had a good cameo when he came on Thursday night against Betis. Again, I think he has to start. I think we take Lawrence out of the firing line. And obviously with no Cantwell, the fact that Hadji's gone on loan, Dowell's injured, it leaves pretty much Lammers as the only one who can operate in that 10 role. I would start Kamar Roof tomorrow. As long as he's fit, he's the best goal scorer at the club. You've got to put someone up there who's going to take the chances when they fall to him. It's a situation tomorrow where, with Motherwell probably packing defence, you're going to have chances been at a premium, maybe for the first 45, 50 minutes, until perhaps they start to tire and they actually have to come out and play. But the only way you can get them out to play is by actually scoring against them. And that's why you need someone like Kamar Roof up front who will take chances that fall to him. He has scored pretty much a goal a game in the league, although they have obviously been ruled out by VAR. So, look, I really don't want to see Dessers start tomorrow. I do. Look, I know I get criticised for this, and I understand that, but I look at him, and yeah, he was good for Feyenoord, but you look at him last season for Cremonese, he was poor. You look at him this season, he's been poor. His movement is poor. He can hold. He's decent in the air, in terms of that. He's a foil player. He's not. Dessers is not the sort of player you can play up front on his own. And if Rangers are going to play with 1 striker up front on their own, Dessers is not the man. That's not his role. That's not how he plays. I think he has to play as part of a pair, which obviously then would constitute a change in formation. I honestly think, to be honest with you, he won't even get 10 goals, and he has been really unimpressive. You look at the Ross County misses. At the end of the day, those 3 chances for Cholak, he scores all 3. You look at the PSV miss. That chance falls to Danilo, that chance falls to Kamar Roof. They probably score it. So, look, I don't want to see him in the team tomorrow. I don't want to see him start. Yeah, have him on the bench, fine, by all means. We need a striker on the bench, even though I rate Zach Lovelace higher. But I would start with Kamar Roof tomorrow. He is a better player than Searle Dessers. Well, let me know what you think. How would you start the game tomorrow? Obviously, a game that we've got to win, a game a must win. We cannot afford to drop any points. We must keep now. We must pretty much be point perfect in the league between now and that Old Firm game in December. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, if you've enjoyed the content, please hit that sub, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. And as always, there's two things I need you to do for me. Number one, smash the like. And number two, remember always, we are the people.